legitimately giving you the best research I know through these videos. And sometimes things change. Sometimes I learn more, and I'll revisit things and tell you. That's what I do, sort of to share with you the experience of these explorations and to, transmit to a larger audience some kind of more boring, not boring, but, like less entertaining research that I actually do on a professional level, on an academic level, on a scholarly level through academia. Like I have that whole other side that's behind the videos that you see. So I talk a lot in layman's terms, I use slang, I joke around with you, but what it's coming from are actual things that I've studied at actual university and through scholars who are experts on the topic, and I'm synthesizing it to you through this more fun medium, these videos. So please, when if you feel inclined to think that I'm just making this up, I'm not. What I tell you is truly the most modern scholarly research on the topic that has become available to me at the time that the words come out of my mouth, and I sincerely believe them to be true. Even if I'm wrong, I'm not guessing. I'm repeating the best knowledge available to me at the moment. So in that spirit, I thank you for watching these videos, and let's get on to the fun stuff. It's not well understood to what extent the ancestral Puebloans came into the western, the central portion of the Mojave Desert. And one thing we know for sure, though, is that the Virgin Anasazi, the river farmers, the hunter-gatherer, part-time farmers that lived along northern Arizona, southern Utah, into Nevada, that little strip, their neighbors with I'm doing this with my hands, I don't know which end you can see. Anyway, they're neighbors with the Fremont who lived up in Utah. And the reason that it's not well known about to what extent there was agriculture or the ancestral Puebloans in the Mojave Desert is because there hasn't been much deep ground archaeology done in the Mojave Desert for a variety of reasons, one of which I assume because it doesn't seem as sexy to study as some places like Chaco Canyon or something like that. But also there have been people in the past who've said things like, oh, because of the nature of the desert pavement, any artifacts that would be found would be on the surface. They wouldn't have been underneath. That sounds silly, because if you know about the deserts, they're a place, especially the Mojave Desert, it went through times of great expansion of water. There'd be lots of water inland, great huge inland lakes, all the way, back in the Pleistocene period, it was very wet. And then even throughout early prehistory, it had periods of ebb and flow of water. So people would move into the desert, and then the water would dry and they would move out of the desert. And, so there was a lot of change of weather. There's wind, there's water, and sand blowing up and covering everything up. I've been in canyons where the petroglyphs are, sticking up out of the dirt, which means there's petroglyphs down under the dirt, under that wash, 10 feet deep. Who knows how deep that wash is, because it's just sand that's been rolling through there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we don't know much about it. One person who studies here, there's a scholar named Kevin Rafferty, who is currently the person that's studying the transition of people through the Calico Basin here at Red Rock Springs and the Red Rock Mountains, but he's specifically here at Red Rock Springs. And the dates that he gives to the Virgin Anasazi being here are between the dates of 1 and 1250. 1250 was a really interesting time because that's when we had a huge drought, and people all over the Southwest started moving and moving and moving because, crowding into the river basins and things like that. So you see a lot of interesting things happening in the Pueblo period, but this is before that time. Before the Virgin Anasazi came, you would have had this particular springs area was actually occupied since about 7500 BCE. That would have been in the Archaic period, and people kind of flowed through here. There wasn't permanent settlements, really. They would just kind of steadily move through as part of their migrations, part of their patterns. But when the Virgin Anasazi came, they stayed, and they stayed for about 1,200 years. The people that lived in and amongst them during part of that time were the Paiute culture group. It's not really a people, but it's sort of a lifeway Paiute. It's river farmers, and that would include the human speakers like the Mojave, like the Quetzan, lots of people who live along the Colorado River. But anyway, they coexisted here with the Virgin Anasazi. Around the time that the Virgin Anasazi left here, the Southern Paiute came through and supplanted them. So then this became Southern Paiute territory. The Paiute make the salt. The salt song tells of their migrations and their settlements and how they came to be all the places that they are. And this would have been almost like an ending point and the beginning point both in the salt songs. But we'll talk about salt songs on a different day. I'm here because I want to see the imagery that the Virgin Anasazi left on the rocks here, because I want to know what the kinds of imagery they left, so that I can see it when I go in deeper into the central Mojave area and be able to distinguish it from the Paiute. That'll also be difficult here because the Paiute were also here, and the Paiute were big mark makers. They marked where they had been heavily and regularly. It's flowing. This kind of chain, this kind of dots on a chain, are things I don't really see out in the Mojave. That's sort of different. This is super exciting. This image can only be from the Anasazi, the Virgin Anasazi that were here. This is very Pueblo. And what's even cooler about it is, oh, let me see if I can protect you from the wind. What's even cooler about it is that it's not the only one of its kind. This is really amazing. This is the exact same motif that's on the blanket petroglyph over at Red Spring. It just doesn't have the blanket around. I saw the same image that is even older that was kind of chipped away. See how the rock erodes? It was over down the hillside a little bit further. These kind of blanket images, they're created out in, you know, Arizona, New Mexico area. And one researcher that I heard speak explained, he and his team are working on explaining some of these blanket images as representing clouds. I don't know if this would be one of them, but I'm just telling you this because blankets are typically made from cotton, and cotton has an equivalency in the ritual imagery, you know, system. Cotton is related to clouds, clouds are related to rain, and blankets are made of clouds, therefore blankets have a relationship to rain, and often the iconography that's put into the blankets also are rain. But I wonder if this one, this is just complete conjecture, just me absolutely guessing this part of it, not the part about the clouds, but this image here, this one. So you see the 4 spots, doing, 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 doing. There's 3.5 spots, and I wonder if this is the 4 worlds. If this is demonstrating that we are in the 4th world, because according to the stories, we are in the 4th world, according to the Ute-Aztecan stories. And see how this top one here, there's only half of it. The others are full. That one's only half, and I wonder if that's because we're in the 4th world. We're not done with the 4th world. I have heard kind of imagery that has these little bulbous areas and the skinny parts. Those can represent, the skinny parts are the liminal spaces through which you emerge into the next world, you know, and the bulbous part are the worlds. So maybe, and I did see another image like this down the hill a little bit. It was just the bulbous parts. So I don't know. It's just my thought. Yeah, maybe something to do with rain, maybe something to do with worlds, and maybe the fact that the sides of the lines on the blanket are wavy, maybe that's something to do with water. I don't know. That's all, that interpretation is just conjecture, but I like to kind of think it through and share my ideas in case anybody else has done similar research and has something to contribute. So let me know if you do have similar research and put it in the comments.
I also don't want to miss this opportunity to point out that the Ute-Aztecan worlds go back tens of thousands of years, and in deep prehistory cultures throughout the world, the female, the feminine, the goddess aspect of nature, of people even, was revered far more than the masculine. And I am starting to develop an inkling that this shows up on the rocks in a variety of forms, but I haven't totally put that line of thinking together yet. But just looking at this image and think of its age, and considering that the manta, this kind of blanket clothing, was worn primarily by women in the, you know, amongst the southwestern Ute-Aztecans and the Pueblos, a blanket might have a further association with the feminine. So you've got rain being associated with feminine, regeneration associated with feminine, and if the feminine is also the one that would wear this item, this whole imagery may have a feminine connotation. This is just a thought, something I've started thinking through, and you know, this image of a woman wearing a manta kind of demonstrates what that would look like.
Because the Park Service has wisely fenced off the village site that's down at the meadow at Red Spring, most of the archaic style petroglyphs are inaccessible unless you're on a formal tour. And since I was not on a formal tour, I've included these images from birdandhike.com, and the credit goes to a photographer named Jim Boone. I hope that he won't mind me using these images as long as I have credited him, but this video is not monetized, so hopefully I'm just sharing his work across the internet as he already does. Here are a couple of fun new pieces I now have in my Etsy shop. Clocks! I make Huichol bead art, inspired art, tiny glass beads pressed into beeswax and pine pitch. And I have taken to making clocks. I thought it would be a fun project. This one is on wood, and this one is plastic. Uh-oh, bead. And these are now available in my Etsy shop. If you like these videos, you may want to check out the shop and see if maybe there's something there that you enjoy. I enjoy making these, so I just produce them whenever I feel like it and put them in my shop, and you know, they're there for anybody who wants to enjoy. Thank you for watching these videos, and thank you for visiting my shop if you choose to. Join the Facebook group Ancient Southwest, and you can post your own pictures or see other people's comments and contributions, or visit the website theancientsouthwest.com, etc., or just keep coming back to this channel. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you again, and may the fire inside you continue to burn brightly.